Good morning, students. It's 11 o'clock. Time to start the new lecture of Math F 211 Mathematics 3. So, presently, we are studying the qualitative properties of differential equation where we can judge the properties and nature of the solution from differential equation itself. In last class, we have discussed about the normal form and Sturm separation theorem. So, in continuous of that, we have this question: find the normal form of the following differential equation. Use it to show that non-trivial solution of differential equation has infinitely many positive zeros. On the x-axis for x greater than 0. Means on the positive side we are asking. So here we have the y double dash minus 4 upon x y dash plus x square plus 6 upon x square y is equal to 0. So it is in standard form. So here we have the px is equal to minus 4 upon x and qx is equal to x square plus 6 upon x square. And for converting to the normal form, we take the substitute. Let y is equal to u, the function of x, and v, the function of x. Ux and vx be solution of given equation, let's say 1. So solution of the first, where v is equal to where v is equal to we have e to power minus half integral p dx, and p is what? Minus 4 upon x. So minus half integral minus 4 upon x dx. So it will give you 2 upon x. So 2 upon x, and it will give you integral value is the 2 log x. So it will give you x square. So here we have the v is equal to x square. Last time in last class we have done this derivative. V is equal to e to power minus half integral p dx. Then ux is given by the normal form. Normal form is u double dash plus qx into u is equal to 0, where qx is equal to capital Q minus 1 by 4 p square minus 1 by 2 p dash x. So p is what? Here p is minus 4 upon x. So p dash will come minus and minus 4 upon x square. So it will give you 4 upon x square, and q is given to you as a x square plus 6 upon x square. So here we have put the value qx, then minus 1 by 4 p square, then minus half into p dash x. So on solving you will get the x square. So here you have computed the value of the qx as a x square. So our differential equation u double dash plus qx u will become u double dash plus x square u is equal to 0. With substitution v is equal to x square. So by converting the normal form, by converting any equation in the normal form, we can judge the nature of the solution. How? So for that we have the theorem C. So theorem C states that if qx greater than 0 and integral from 1 to infinity qx dx is infinity, then we say it has infinitely many solutions. So here we check qx is what? X square. So for the positive x, x square is always positive. So x square greater than 0. Then integral 1 to infinity qx dx. So 1 to infinity x square. So here integral will be x cube upon 3, limit 1 to infinity. So it will give you infinity. So it satisfies the both condition of theorem C. So here we have the theorem C. Let ux be any non-trivial solution of u double dash plus qxu where qx greater than 0 for all x greater than 0 if integral 1 to infinity qx dx is equal to infinity, then u has infinitely many zeros on the positive x-axis. So it is satisfying the both condition. It is satisfying the both condition. So now you can say ux has infinitely many zeros. Whatever the conclusion of the theorem C, that conclusion you can make because it satisfies the both hypothesis of the that theorem. So if ux is if ux if ux has infinitely many zeros on the positive x-axis, implies y-x has also infinitely many zeros on the positive x-axis. Means that is the main use of the normal form, that whatever the nature of the normal form, means whatever the nature of the u, if it is the oscillating, if its solution is oscillating, let's say it is a graph of the ux, the same nature will be for the yx. So if you draw the graph of the yx, the same nature will come. So here we have proved that u has the infinitely many zeros, 1 0 2, right, all are the zeros. So similarly the same number of zeros will be for the yx also. That is the utility of the normal form. Let us say see this question, it is from your book, second problem. So that zeros of the function a sin x plus b cos x and c sin x plus d cos x are distinct and occur alternatively whenever ad minus bc not equal to 0. So in this case we assume that let y1 is equal to a sin x plus b cos x, y2 is equal to c sin x plus d cos x. So in last class I have told you about the theorem A. So theorem A stated that here theorem A is nothing, it is the Sturm separation theorem. If y1 and y2 are two Li solution of y double dash plus px y dash plus qx y is equal to 0, then the zeros of this function are distinct and occur alternatively. So here what is given to you? You have y1 and y2 and you want to prove that their zeros occur alternatively, right, and are distinct. So for that you must require the y1 and y2 must be the Li, and for the Li you know the Wronskian should be non-zero. So here we check the only the Wronskian in this question.
Sir, but we don't have that they are solution of a differential equation.
I think in the in book it is written it is the solution.
Sir, we said in the if y1 and y2 are Li solution, so they have to be a solution of some equation, right?
I think in the book some it must be the solution. Your observation is right. It must be the solution. There must be some means with this there must be the solution.
Sir, we can like take an arbitrary equation, so that makes it a solution.
Let I have to check from the book. Presently, I haven't the book. So after checking, I will. If there is any change, then I will redo this question. Presently, just you understand that assume that y1 and y2 are the solution here. So for proving that their zeros occur alternatively. So by the theorem A, it will be when we have the Li solution, or when the functions are Li, and for the Li we require the Wronskian non-zero. So here we compute the Wronskian of the y1 and y2. So here we have the y1, here we have the y2, y1 dash and y2 dash. So we compute this. So cos square plus sin square is equal to 1. So here we must have the BC minus AD is not equal to 0. So that they have us as in this question. Let us have this question. Y double dash minus cos x y dash plus sin x y is equal to 0. So from this, it is already in standard form. So capital P is equal to minus cos x, capital Q is equal to sin x. So you have to determine what is the nature of the given differential equation, solution of the given differential equation. What is the nature of solution of given differential equation? For that, we convert it into the normal form with the substitution y is equal to u into v, where v is equal to e to power minus half integral p dx, where v is equal to e to power minus half integral p dx. So p is what? Minus cos x. So e to power minus half integral minus cos x dx. So minus and minus plus. So it will give you e to power half sin x. And qx and qx is what? 1 upon v, 1 upon v double dash plus p v dash plus q v is right qv. So here what is the v? Either you use, we have the both formula, so either you use either formula you can use. So if the v is equal to this, so v dash will become half cos x e to power half sin x. I'm saying that here the v is what? E to power half sin x. So from here the v dash will come e to power half sin x and half, here we have the cos x. Similarly, here we can compute the v double dash. So v double dash will come minus half sin x e to power half sin x plus 1 by 4 cos square x e to power half sin x. So on substituting the value of v dash and v double dash in the formula of qx.
Sir, in the
So here,
QX, we don't have any value of V, right?
pardon, we do not have.
Sir, we do not have any term of V in QX.
No, this is the no v.
Sir, wasn't QX like capital Q minus 1 by 4 P square
That is
minus,
no, that is none. Both are the formula, no? In the derivation, I have told you this is the q. This is the q. V double dash upon v plus p v dash upon v plus q. And that formula we have, from that we have derived the qx is equal to capital Q minus 1 by 4 p square minus half p dash. So it's up to you, no? You can use any formula. Here we have derived na qx is equal to this. From the qx of basic formula, we have derived the same thing in terms of the given function. So it's up to you which formula you are using. Both are the same thing. Both are same thing. From this formula only we have derived the this formula, na? Qx is equal to 1 upon v double dash plus p v dash plus qv. From that we have derived the q minus 1 by 4 p square minus half p dash. So it's up to you which formula you are using. Clear?
yes, sir.
So here we have the q dash q is equal to 1 by v double dash plus pv dash plus qv. It is 1 by v V double dash plus PV dash plus QV. So on putting the value of the V double dash, then PV dash and Q into V. Here we have the 1 by 2 sin x minus 1 by 4 into 1 minus sin square x. So now we have to check what is the nature of the solution. So here the q will come, this is the qx. So it will come 1 by 4 sin square x plus 2 sin x minus 1. So the normal form will come u double dash plus qx into u is equal to 0. So here you have put the u double dash plus qx into u is equal to 0 with v is equal to e to power half sin x. Now we have to verify the theorem B and theorem C. So for qx greater than 0, if we want the qx greater than 0, so qx is what? 1 by 4 sin square plus 2 sin x minus 1 greater than 0. So if you make it perfect square, so 1 by 4 sin x plus 1 whole square minus 2 greater than 0. So this can be written as sin x plus 1 whole square minus 2 greater than 0. So you bring this 2 on the right hand side. So we have the sin x plus 1 greater than plus minus of root 2. So sin x will be the greater than root 2 minus 1. So x greater than sine inverse of root 2 minus 1. Let's say this is 1 point x naught. So it means q value is positive after the certain point x naught. Q value is positive after the certain point x naught on the positive x-axis. Then we compute the integral 1 to infinity qx dx. So it will be the 1 to infinity 1 by 4 sin square plus 2 sin x minus 1 into dx. So here we have the sin square can be written as 1 minus cos 2x upon 2 and 2 sin x minus 1 dx. So on solving, you will get this. So here we have the involvement of the x. So we can say it tends to infinity. So here, what is the thing? If it satisfies, so by theorem C, u has infinitely many zeros on positive x-axis. So u has infinitely many zeros on the positive x-axis. Hence yx has also infinitely many zeros on positive x-axis. So it has the infinitely many zeros after the point x naught. And what is the x naught? X naught is the sine inverse of the root 2 minus 1. Means before that we have the either the increasing or decreasing function, and thereafter we have the infinitely many zeros. Because after this we have the qx greater than 0 and integral 1 to
Sir,
infinity will give you. Hmm?
sir, it will tend to negative infinity, right?
Means on from both sides it is the infinity. It is true for the both side infinity. Actually, we take the positive x-axis. That's why we take the this. In generally, we write the infinity, but it is the both side infinity. So here, the after the x naught, it will show the fluctuation. So either we have the infinitely many zeros after the x naught or from the origin. It doesn't matter. Means on the positive x-axis, we have the infinitely many zeros. Right? Now, this is an important question to understand the concept. The hypothesis of the theorem C. What is the theorem C? Qx positive, integral 1 to infinity, Qx tends to infinity, right? These are the two hypotheses. Then the solution has infinitely many zeros. The hypothesis of the theorem C is false for the Euler's equation y double dash plus k upon x square y is equal to 0. But the conclusion is sometime true and sometime false, depending on the magnitude of the positive constants k, so that every non-trivial solution has infinite number of positive zeros if k greater than 1 by 4, and only a finite number if k is less than equal to 1 by 4. Means finite number of zeros means if we have the sum, after that it will become the increasing, or if you have sum, so after that it will become the decreasing, or it may be that it is the monotonous, like this. We can have any shape, means we can have any shape, right? So what it can have the any shape when we have the finite number of the zeros, but for the infinite number of the zeros we have the continuously it is increasing. So theorem C state that if qx greater than 0 and integral 1 to infinity qx tends to infinity, then we have the infinitely many zeros. So let us see for the Euler's equation. So Euler's equation is what? Y double dash. Euler's equation is what? Y double dash plus k is k upon x square y is equal to 0. It is already in the normal form, but in general we write the normal form in terms of the u. So here, and we want the solution in terms of the y, and later on I will show you the solution in y. So I am just converting it in terms of the u with the usual procedure. Already is in the normal form, but just to demonstrate the solution I am converting into the normal form it, right? So y double dash plus k upon x square y is equal to 0, where capital P is equal to what? 0. Capital Q is equal to what? K upon x square. So we know that y is equal to what? Let y is equal to u into b, solution of the first, the solution of first, where v is equal to e to power minus half integral p dx. So e to power minus half integral 0 dx. So e to power 0, that is the 1. That is the 1. So here the v is equal to 1, and q is equal to q small q is equal to we have the qx only, because p is equal to 0. In general we have the formula qx minus 1 or p minus half p dash. So p is equal to 0, so on x square. So now we have the normal form u double dash plus k upon x square u is equal to 0. So original equation and normal form both are the same thing, because in both first order derivative coefficient is equal to 0. So it is already in normal form. So now this is the small q. This is the small q. So in the normal form, this is the normal form. Normal form. So small q k upon x square. So since we are talking only for the positive x-axis, x greater than 0, so k upon x square will be greater than 0 when we have the k positive, right? When we have the k positive. So let us assume the k is positive, then q is equal to k upon x square will be the positive, and integral 1 to infinity q dx will be integral 1 to infinity k upon x square dx. So this will give you k integral limit 1 to infinity. So it will give you k and minus infinity minus 1 upon 1. That is a limit. So this will give you 0 minus of minus 1, that is the 1. So here we have the k. K is naturally not equal to infinity. So here what we have, the hypothesis of the theorem, hypothesis of the theorem is false, because in this the second hypothesis is not true. It is not coming infinity. Still, the conclusion of the theorem C is sometimes true and is sometimes false. So hypothesis of the theorem C is false. So the Euler's equation is nothing. It is the same equation we have written in this form: x square y double dash plus k y is equal to 0. So you have already studied the Euler's equation. Euler's equation. Euler's equation. What is the study? It is the question number 5 of the section 17 on page 98. Step from the Euler's equational equation is x square y double dash plus p x y dash plus q y is equal to 0, where small p and small q are constants. Then we convert that equation, Euler's equidimensional equation, by the substitution x is equal to e to power z and y is equal to x to power m. Means we convert the independent variable from x to z. Then we have the reduced form as a second order differential equation with constant coefficient. Means this is nothing. This is the d2y upon dz2 plus p minus 1 dy dz plus qy is equal to 0. And initially it was the x square d2y upon dx2. Means we have converted the given independent variable x to the z by the substitution x is equal to e to power z. Right? X is equal to e to power z, or z is equal to ln of x. So when we have this, so for this
Sir, what is this? Sir, what is
pardon?
this written? Y is equals to m. What is that?
X to power m,
Sir,
y is equal to x to power m.
oh,
So in this case, auxiliary equation will be m square plus p minus 1 m plus q is equal to 0. P is what? It is the 0. So it will come m square minus m plus k is equal to 0. So m is equal to, right, auxiliary equation will become m square minus m plus k is equal to 0. So m will be by the discriminant rule. So m is equal to 1 plus minus root of 1 minus 4k upon 2. Now, what is the nature of the m? What is the nature of the m? M nature depend over the value of 1 minus 4k. If the value of the 1 minus 4k is negative, if the value of 1 minus 4k is negative, at that time the general solution will be, the c1 cos x plus c2 sin x. c1 cos x plus c2 sin x means just whatever the root, according to root we write the, but we have the involvement of the term of the cos x and sin x. We have involvement of the term cos x and sin x, and which is the periodic in nature. Sin x and cos x are periodic in nature, means they have the infinitely many solution. So solution are periodic if 1 minus 4k less than 0 or k greater than 1 by 4. The solution, if then the solution has infinitely many zeros if k is equal to 1 by 4. The solution are not periodic. When they are not periodic, when the solution is real and distinct, real and equal. So when real and distinct, then we have the solution C1 e to power mx plus m1x plus C2 e to power m2x. When we have the roots are the real and distinct, when or when they are the real and equal, then we have the C1 plus C2x e to power mx, e to power mx. So due to the exponential, due to the involvement of the exponential, we can say either we have the curve like this or we have the curve like this, uh, not negative. So either we have the curve like this or we have the curve like this, right? So here we can say there is no oscillation. So in this case, again the solution are not periodic if 1 minus 4k greater than equal to 0, or if k less than equal to 4, the solution has infinite number of zeros. Finite number of zeros has the infinite number of zeros if k less than equal to 4. So that was the question. In the question, please see again the question, that hypothesis of the theorem C is false. We have seen integral 1 to infinity qx not coming infinity for the Euler's equation, but some but the conclusion is sometimes true. Means sometimes its solution is some solution has the infinitely many zeros, or sometimes it hasn't the infinitely many zeros. They at that time they have the finitely zero. So depending on the magnitude of the positive constant k, so that every non-trivial solution has infinite number of positive zeros if k greater than 1 by 4, and only a finite number if k less than equal to 1 by 4. That we have proved.
Sir, can you scroll up? Yes, yes.
Some doubt?
No, sir.
For the k is equal to 1 by 4, we have the this also. So when k is equal to 1 by 4, then m is equal to half. M is equal to half, then yx, the general solution yx will become c1 plus c2 z e to power mz. So e to power half z, and z is what? E to power z is what? It is the x. So c1 plus c2, either the z is ln x or e to power z is x. So here we have put, so c1 plus c2 ln x and x to power half. That is the y. There we have put now x to power m. Y is equal to x to power m. So here we have the x to power half. So if you compute the dy by dx, so here in the dy by dx, we have seen x is positive, x is positive, x is positive, x is positive. So this implies that dy by dx is the positive. So when the dy by dx is positive, it means yx is the increasing function. Yx is increasing function. So when yx is increasing function, it means by chance it is crossing. So after that, it will increase only. So it has the finite number of zeros. It has the at most 1 zero, because the yx is the increasing function. So nowhere we have computed the solution, right? Means here we have not concluded the solution. Without computing the solution, we have seen the nature of the solution. But the same thing, same property you are getting if you compute the solution. The same type of the things you can observe if you know the solution. Similarly, so yx will have the at most 1 0. If k is less than 1 by 4, then we have the two roots m1 and m2, and here the roots are real and distinct. So the yx will be, c1 e to power m1x plus c2 e to power m2x. So due to the involvement of the exponential, it crosses the x-axis at most one. There is no fluctuation or oscillation. Now we are moving to next section, section 25, under the qualitative properties of the solution. In that we have the another important theorem, Sturm comparison theorem. What is the Sturm comparison theorem? Let us see one by one. So in that first theorem is theorem A. Let yx be non-trivial solution of equation y double dash plus qx y is equal to 0 in a closed interval AB. Then yx has at most a finite number of zeros in this interval. Means under any interval A to B, we have always the finite number of zeros. This theorem states that in the closed interval, we have finite number of zeros. After that, it may have the infinite number of zeros, or it may have finite number of zeros. But between the finite interval, always we have the finite number of zeros. Here we have not checked the what is the nature of the Q. In the previous section, in the theorem B, we have the qx should be negative, then we have the finite number of zeros. If qx is positive and integral 1 to infinity qx is infinity, then we have the infinite number of zeros. But if we have the normal form y double dash plus qx y is equal to 0, then in the finite interval always we have the finite number of zeros. That is the first thing. Now second theorem is the Sturm comparison theorem. Here we will compare the two solutions. Let yx and zx be non-trivial solution of two differential equations y double dash plus qx y is equal to 0 and z double dash plus rx z is equal to 0 respectively. Means here the yx is solution of the first equation and zx is solution of the second equation, where qx and rx are positive function such that qx greater than rx and both are positive, so both are greater than 0. Qx greater than rx greater than 0. Then yx vanishes at least once between any two successive zeros of the zx. Means it is what it is saying that, let's say this is the graph of the z. This is the graph of the z. In the z is the solution of the equation z double dash plus rx z is equal to 0. And we have another differential equation y double dash plus qx y is equal to 0, where q is greater than r. When we have this, then Sturm comparison theorem states that either we have more than one zero, or we have 1 0. Never we can never we will face that there is no zero. At least 1 0 will be there always between the two consecutive zeros of the z. Between two consecutive of the zeros of the z, always we have at least 1 zeros of the y. Means this situation will not come. We can have more than 1 0. We can have more than 1 0 for the y, We can have more than one zero for the y. We can have one zero of the y. We can have one zero of the y between the two consecutive zero of the z, between two consecutive of the z, but never you can find that between two consecutive of the z there is no zero of the y. There is no zero of the y, means after this it is not possible. It has to pass through this. It has to pass through this. That is the stump comparison theorem. Clear? What is the statement of the theorem? It's clear.
Yes, sir.
So here, so with this, we will obtain this obtain normal form of the Bessel's equation. X square y double dash plus x y dash plus x square minus p square y is equal to 0 using positive zeros. So here we have the Bessel equation, right? Bessel equation is very important equation. We have means dedicated chapter on this particular one equation only. So it can be written in the standard form y double dash plus 1y x y dash plus 1 minus p square upon x square y is equal to 0. Where p is equal to what? 1y(x), q is equal to what? 1 minus p square upon x square. So first we convert it into the normal form using the substitution y is equal to u into v, where v is what? E to power minus half integral p dx, and p is 1y(x). So e to power minus half 1y(x) into dx. So that will give you 1 upon root x. 1 upon root x. So then u is given by the normal form. Normal form is what? U double dash plus qx, u is equal to 0, where q is what? Capital Q minus 1 by 4 p square minus half p dash. So q is 1 minus p square upon x square minus 1 by 4, p is 1 by x, p is 1 by x, so minus 1 by 4 into 1 by x whole square and minus half p dash. So p dash, if p is equal to 1 by x, so p dash is equal to minus 1 upon x square, minus 1 upon x square. So minus 1 by 2 into minus 1 upon x square. So on solving, you will get the 1 minus p square upon x square plus 1 by 4, 1 by 4 x square. So in the standard form, we write it like this: u double dash plus 1 plus 1 minus 4 p square upon 4 x square into u is equal to 0. Means here the small q is what? 1 plus 1 minus 4 p square upon 4 x square. So now here we check if p is equal to 0. If p is equal to 0, then this equation, if p is equal to 0, if p is equal to 0, then we check the qx will become 1 plus 1 upon 4x square. So this qx is always positive, right? Always positive for x greater than positive. For the positive x, this 1 plus 1 upon 4x square will be the positive, and integral 1 to infinity of qx dx, integral 1 to infinity cos qx dx. So integral of 1 plus 1 upon 4 x square dx 1 to infinity, that will give you x plus something 1 to infinity, that will give you infinity. So this will satisfy the both hypotheses of the theorem C. So by theorem 24C. in the section 24, whatever the theorem C, with that we can say that U has infinitely many zeros. U has the infinitely many zeros. Hence, hence Y has also Y has also infinitely many zeros. Infinitely many zeros. Y has also infinitely many zeros. Then after this case we are not checking here, right? Then after, if p is not equal to 0, if p is not equal to 0, so q is what? 1 plus 1 minus 4p square upon 4x square. So we want that q must
Sir,
be positive.
sir, we are not
Yes.
doing p is equal to 1.
No, presently not, because we will see the general case p greater than half.
Sir, in last class we did p is
In
equal to.
last class I have done, right? So actually we want that p, there I have not discussed the p between the half and 1 or more than 1, but
Yes.
here I will discuss the p greater than half.
Okay, sir.
So in that automatically 1 will come. Need not to means check twice for the particular point. I will take the general case p greater than half. Clear?
Yes,
So
sir.
uh, let let 1 minus 4p square greater than equal to greater than equal to 0. So actually what we want this should be the positive. So when this will be the positive? When this is the positive. When this is the positive. So we have taken this, right? So 1 minus 4p square, 4p square greater than equal to 0. So that will give you minus 4p square greater than equal to minus 1, or 4p square less than equal to 1, and p square less than equal to 1 by 4, or we can say p lie between the minus half to half. But p is always positive. P is always positive. So it will take the p lie between 0 to half. 0 to half. We are taking the p lie between 0 to half. For this range, if you compute the integral 1 to infinity qx dx, so q is what? 1 minus p square upon x square plus 1 by 4 x square. Either you write the q is equal to this, right? Q is equal to this. Both are the same thing, right? So here, if you take the integral, so here in the integral we have the term of the x. So as you substitute the x is equal to infinity, so here the qx tends to infinity. Qx tends to infinity. So there we have checked for the, we have checked for the p is equal to 0. Then here we have checked for p between 0 to half, 0 to half. So if you combine these two, then we can say we have the same result, means infinitely many zeros if p lie between 0 less than equal to and less than half, less than equal to half, or p lie between 0 to half. So ux has infinitely many zeros. If ux has infinitely many zeros, then naturally the y u into v has also infinitely many zeros on the positive x-axis. Now if p greater than half, then qx is we want the qx must be positive. So qx will be positive only when, 4x square plus 1 minus 4p square greater than 0, because in the denominator we have the 4x square. So this is always positive. So only the numerator should be the positive. So here, from here we can write 4x square greater than 4p square minus 1, or x square is equal x square greater than 4p square minus 1 upon 4, or x greater than 4p square minus 1 upon 2. Let's say it is the point, some point x naught. So thus there exists a point x naught such that qx greater than 0. Means qx is positive after certain point. Qx is positive after certain point. Before that point, we do not know what is the nature of the q, whether it is decreasing or increasing. But after the, or it is fluctuating, but after the x naught, the qx is always the positive. And when we take the limit x tends to infinity qx, so that is the 1. So here we can say, given, for the given epsilon greater than 0, there exists a delta, positive delta, such that such that mod of qx minus 1 less than epsilon whenever mod of x greater than delta. So mod of, we can search such delta for the given epsilon which satisfy this condition.
Sir, can you
So
explain the limit part again?
means I'm saying that here we have the, means qx, I'm saying that I do not know, let's say it is the qx. After the qx, after the x naught, after the x naught, the qx value is increasing. It is always the positive, it is always positive, not increasing, means always the positive. In this range qx is uh, positive. Before that I do not know whether it is the negative or not. But after that, if it is the graph of the x and qx, so after the point x naught, before also we can have anything, before also we can have anything, but after the x naught, it is always positive. So and if you take the limit of the qx is what? Qx is the 1 plus 1 minus 4p square upon 4 4x square. So when we take the x tends to 0, x tends to infinity, qx will equal to 1. So here I am saying that if some epsilon is given to you, positive epsilon is given to you, there exists always positive delta, such that modulus of the qx minus 1 is less than delta whenever mod of the x greater than delta. So with this, what we can do, due to the due to the definition existence of the limit, we have this definition. So with this we can say qx minus 1 is greater than minus epsilon but less than epsilon whenever mod of x greater than delta. So you take the minus 1 on the left side, on the right hand side. So qx will be greater than 1 minus epsilon but less than 1 plus epsilon whenever mod of x greater than delta. So thus for all x, delta x greater than delta, qx is 1 minus epsilon, 1 minus epsilon. Let's say it is the x naught, or you can say, let's say it is the 1 by 4. We can choose, we can choose qx in such a way, it is greater than 1 minus epsilon, 1 minus epsilon, or 1 by 4, or 1 by 4. So now we have the two equation, u double dash plus qx is equal to u double dash plus qx into u is equal to 0, and v double dash plus 1 by 4 v is equal to 0. So it here we have the qx, here we have the rx, and qx greater than rx and greater than 0. So by the Sturm comparison theorem, what is the solution of this equation? What is the solution of this equation? M square plus 1 by 4 is equal to 0. It means m is equal to plus minus 1 by 2 eta. So it will give you v is equal to c1 cos of the x by 2, or you can say z by 2 plus c2 sine of z by 2. Clear? So it means, it shows that infinitely many zeros, z has infinitely many zeros, implies, by Sturm comparison theorem, implies u also has infinitely many zeros. infinitely many zeros. And u is what? Normal form of the Bessel equation for p greater than half. So it implies that y has also infinitely many zeros. So you have proof for the zero at zero, zero to half, and greater than half. So means for all p, Bessel equation is fluctuating. So that's all for today. Any doubt?